Hello, welcome to Samanvali's kitchen. Today I'm going to make a lasagna, a lamb lasagna. That's the meat we prefer in our family. We need lamb mince, some sliced mushrooms. I use a little bit of bacon, chopped bacon, onion, garlic. Then for the herbs, I have dried oregano and thyme, and also handful of basil and handful of chopped parsley. Also, I'm using a little bit of rosemary, which is also fresh rosemary, and crushed tomatoes and lasagna sheets. And also I use a little bit of sugar in my meat sauce, and salt and pepper. So firstly, I will be making the white sauce for the lasagna, and let's do that first. So for the white sauce, I use powdered milk, 8 tablespoons of powdered milk, which I have here. And then I always use hot water to make the milk. There is a reason I have mentioned before also, that I make the white sauce with warm milk. So I need 1 liter of milk. I'm putting roughly about 2 tablespoons of butter here. We have to melt the butter fully, and don't let the butter get burnt. So this is how the butter should be before we put the flour in. I use 2 tablespoons of plain flour when I'm making the white sauce. So this is called a roux. So where you cook the flour in butter. I added 1 more tablespoon of plain flour, and we have to cook the flour thoroughly, otherwise you get the taste of the flour, which is not a very pleasant taste. When we are cooking the flour, we must not get this roux any darker than this. It should be in this color, otherwise the white sauce becomes sort of brown. So you must not overcook or burn the roux. I'm adding the milk. First I add only half of the milk. The reason I'm using hot milk always is the batter doesn't, the roux doesn't get clumpy. If we use cold milk, it gets very clumpy and it becomes very hard to get rid of the clumps. So again I'm adding the rest of the milk now. Stir well, otherwise you don't want any sort of clumps in the white sauce. At this stage you can use a whisk, which will do the job very well. I will add the seasoning now. I'm adding salt, 1 teaspoon, and a little bit more, 1.5 teaspoons. And also I use pepper for the white sauce. You can use even white pepper powder, but I don't have white pepper powder, and so I'm using the black pepper powder, 1 teaspoon. Black pepper has more flavor. When we are making a white sauce or a cheese sauce, we have to constantly stir the sauce, otherwise it gets stuck to the bottom because it's a flour based sauce. It will get stuck to the bottom for the heat and it will burn the sauce. So constantly keep stirring. Better to do with a whisk when you're stirring, and you get rid of all the lumps also at the when you're stirring with a whisk. For us to know whether the sauce is in the correct consistency, what I use, the method I use is back of the spoon, you draw a line and it doesn't come together, that means the sauce is done. I'm going to make the meat sauce now. Firstly, I'm going to add the lamb mince. Because lamb has more fat than the beef mince, I'm not going to add any olive oil or oil. So whatever the fat that is released from the mince, I will use it to cook. And also because I'm adding bacon, I won't put any oil into this meat sauce. So at this stage I am adding the chopped bacon, and I'm going to let it sort of fry to release the fat from the bacon. I will let it cook for some time. So I am adding 2 leaves of bay leaf for my meat sauce. Bacon gives a lot of flavor also, that's the reason I use bacon, but it's optional. If you don't want to use bacon, you don't have to. And now I'm going to add the garlic, the chopped garlic, onion, I'm adding 2 teaspoons of salt. You can adjust according to your taste later on. And 2 teaspoons of black pepper. I'm adding the chopped rosemary also, the fresh one. And also the dried herb, oregano, and the thyme. This I have no measurement. You can use according to your taste again, you know. So I would say like 2 teaspoons of oregano. Oregano gives a nice flavor for the lasagna. More the better, I would say. And now I'm adding the dried thyme. If you feel, when you taste, and if you think you need more dried herbs or oregano or the thyme, you can add some more. I tasted the meat filling, and then I feel that I should add more oregano. So yeah, it's more than 3 teaspoons now of dried oregano, and it gives a nice flavor. So even if you put a bit more, that doesn't make any it doesn't taste bad. So but it will give full flavor. I'm putting a handful of parsley, a bit more, and again according to your taste. I'm adding everything into the meat sauce now, the parsley. At this stage, I'm adding the sliced mushrooms. I don't overcook the mushrooms, so I'm going to add the crushed tomatoes now. I reduce the heat at this moment. I don't want the sauce to dry out, but I add a little bit of water into the can and get all the tomatoes in the can also. After adding the crushed tomatoes, I add a little bit of tomato paste, also just for the color. If the tomato sauce is not in a bright red color, I like to add a little bit of tomato paste. That is again up to you, but I prefer to add the tomato paste. It gives a nice taste too. So while cooking, always make sure that you taste the food, and then you can add salt or anything like the herbs or whatever you need, that you think that is needed. But I always add, when I'm making the meat sauce, any tomato based sauce, little bit of sugar just to balance the acidity of the tomatoes. So I am using 1 teaspoon of sugar here, and it really gives a nice flavor. I add the basil leaves at the very last moment before I take it off the fire. So so that the basil leaves doesn't need to be cooked for that long. Just 1 or 2 stirs, and that is more than enough, because we are going to bake the lasagna also in the oven, and you have to keep that vibrant color, the green color of the basil. So this is how the meat sauce end result should look like. I haven't cooked the basil leaf, just stirred in and took it off the fire. And it is always better if you can make the meat sauce the previous day, even the white sauce previous day, and layer the lasagna the next day and bake it. It's easy to handle the sauce, the meat sauce and the white sauce when it's from the fridge, if you have cooked it the previous day and taken it out for the next day. But I'm going to use it, make the lasagna today itself. So let's see how I'm going to layer the lasagna. I have put the oven to preheat at 160 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to lay the lasagna now. So for the base, I always put a little bit of white sauce and spread it evenly. So that is because to give some moisture for the lasagna sheets when we are baking. Otherwise the lasagna sheets will sort of burn from the bottom. So this gives moisture for the lasagna, for the sheets to soak and doesn't get burnt. So whatever baking dish you take, according to that you can break the lasagna sheets and layer it. So you have to take the bay leaves out. Even if you use fresh bay leaves, take the bay leaves out, because it is not a pleasant experience if you bite into a bay leaf while eating. Now I add the white sauce. After putting the white sauce on top of the meat sauce, I just spread the white sauce with a spoon. So I have laid the lasagna now. So make sure that you finish with lasagna sheets on the top, and then we will add a little bit of white sauce and some cream, and also shredded cheese and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And then I just want to show you, I have a habit of breaking the corners of the lasagna sheet so that it fits the dish properly, because otherwise it's very difficult to fit the lasagna sheet into the dish. So I break the corners. That is all up to you to do what you like, but I do this method of breaking the corners so that it's easy and it fits perfectly in the dish. So I will put the remaining white sauce. So this is how I finish the lasagna, and spread it around evenly. Add a little bit of cream also, so that the white sauce doesn't get burnt on top. This is also, I have no measurement. This is all according to whatever you feel and how big your dish is, and how much white sauce you have on top. So I don't want a lot of cream on top, that will overflow. I'm going to add the Parmesan cheese first before adding the shredded cheese. That is also, you can add however much you want. And then you can add the shredded cheese on top of the Parmesan cheese. Either way, it doesn't matter whether it's Parmesan cheese first or the shredded cheese, but this is how I do. Why I put the shredded cheese on top after putting the Parmesan cheese is, the shredded cheese melts very well and gives a good color rather than the Parmesan cheese. So that's why I put the shredded cheese on top, so that it melts nicely. So the lasagna is ready to go into the oven. I normally, when I bake a lasagna or something that I feel that it'll ooze out of the dish, I put it onto another tray and line with baking paper, so that my life is easy, you know, then cleaning part is easy. I will put it in the oven for half an hour at 160 degrees Celsius. So I have taken the lasagna out from the oven after 35 minutes, and it has got a nice golden color on top of the lasagna with the melted cheese. And let it rest for half an hour before you serve or cut into pieces, because it will be easy to handle. If you cut it right away, it's quite soft, and when you want to take the piece out, it will sort of not come out nicely. So this is how I make my lasagna. I hope you all will try it and enjoy it.